Hey, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Chris. We're the hosts of True Believers, a comic book podcast, our weekly show about all things comics.
Welcome to our third episode. Today we are going to be discussing one of Chris's overwhelming favorites. It's Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans.
Listen, I know a lot of people who don't like Teen Titans Go, but I'm absolutely obsessed with it. The Teen Titans are a DC Comics superhero team created in the mid-60s by writer Bob Haney and artist Bruno Premiani, featuring several sidekicks of major DC Comics power players. It would go on to be canceled and revived several times, never really reaching true success until the 80s, with writer Marv Wolfman and artist George Perez at the helm. The early 2000s Teen Titans show is largely based on the Wolfman and Perez run of Teen Titans and adapts several other storylines for a younger audience without sacrificing character development or serious themes like prejudice, betrayal, and personal identity. The show spawned 5 seasons and a movie, Trouble in Tokyo, that served as the true series finale when the show was canceled in 2006. Due to the popularity of the DC Nation New Teen Titans shorts, a spinoff of the original animated series called Teen Titans Go premiered on Cartoon Network in 2013, featuring a drastically different art style and being more wholly devoted to comedy. And like I said, I understand that some people may not like it or whatever, but I truly believe that Teen Titans Go is a masterclass in satire with genuine heart at the center, along with some genuine bops. Because every single song, they never miss. During the credits of 2018's theatrically released musical comedy Teen Titans Go to the Movies, the audience got a brief message from the 2003 Titans, with Robin emphatically stating that they found a way back and leaving us to suffer in agony until the announcement of a direct-to-video standalone sequel called Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans that released in 2019, with the comedic Teen Titans pitted against their more serious counterparts, which is, funny enough, today's topic, like we said. After I watched the Loki show and after we talked about it last week, I was telling Andrew how much of this I saw in that, considering it is all about the multiverse, all about different versions of the Teen Titans and them battling against each other. And I don't know, I really liked it. So I thought it would be a good follow-up to that.
Yeah, I hadn't seen the new, or honestly, I hadn't seen the new Teen Titans Go to the movies, and I hadn't seen this new one of the Teen Titans versus Teen Titans. That's what it's called. But yeah, it was very, very reminiscent of the multiverse, which I get exactly why you wanted to do this episode following that. It made sense, especially the end of the movie whenever they're going through different portals into different universes.
Listen, this and Avengers Endgame came out in the same year, and I actually watched this when they started getting out of the portals, and I was like, yo, I just saw this in Teen Titans.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, because they did do portals exactly like that in Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans.
And it came out, I think Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans came out a couple months after. Like, I think this came out like November of 2019. But the fact that this is an animated movie and they could not have like changed it to match, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I was going to say the exact same thing. Like, there's no way that one copied the other. Like, there's no way.
Because of how much like work goes into animation.
Yeah, like, exactly. It's such a weird coincidence, though. That's a weird coincidence.
It's just the fact. And then apparently the plot of Avengers Endgame, which you told me, was like they all went back into other universes back in time and grabbed the Infinity Stones from like different moments. Like, you told me that, right? Yeah, so the fact that they went into other universes and like that was the plot
to get the Warlagog,
not just to get the Warlagog, but to get the other Teen Titans to join them, the Teen Titans of Infinite Earths. I was like, yes, Robin.
Okay, yes. So personally, watching this movie, I really didn't think I was gonna like it going into it. It was actually pretty enjoyable. It told like a really good story, as well as it had some moments that this is definitely geared for kids, y'all, like 100%. It still had some really funny moments, even for the adult. Like, okay, I'll talk about it later once we describe the actual movie. But there's a part at the end that I cracked up. Like, it's so stupid.
Wait, okay, was it the Nightwing thing? Because I have a Nightwing thing to say at the beginning, and I feel like those are connected.
No, it was the Trigon thing.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about. So we'll get into that when we talk about it. But I'm glad you really liked the movie, because as everybody knows that I'm obsessed. Well, I guess people don't know me, but like my inner circle, they all know that I'm obsessed with like these kids superhero shows, because I like to see what they're gonna do. And Teen Titans Go, like, first of all, every song they've ever released period, has been a bop. What do y'all know about that pyramid mummy money? What do y'all know?
I don't even know what that means. I don't watch Teen Titans Go.
Listen, and then I'm gonna make you watch Teen Titans Go to the movies, or at the very least their Go battle song. But it was written by Lil Yachty.
Oh my
And
god.
Lil Yachty has a powerful pen, y'all. I've never heard any of his own songs, but y'all know he wrote some parts of Act Up by City Girls. And
I
I could
didn't
see
know
that
that.
he must be out there rapping his ass off, because the Go battle song, it literally, they're like TEETITANS, we're the big heroes taking on the big menace. I was like, period. That's in another movie though. We're talking about this one. And they actually have a cooperation song in the middle that reinforces what I've been saying to y'all for years, that Starfire has always been black. Because why else would she show up dressed like Salt and Pepper? Starfire really showed up dressed like Salt and Pepper, and I was like, period,
Dude,
our
I know when
black
she
queen.
showed up like that, I thought that was hilarious.
The reason why a lot of people don't like it is because they think it's meant to be serious, but it's literally satirical. It's the definition of satire. There are all these exaggerated versions of the Teen Titans, and like the fact that they take time to both break the well, no, I'm gonna say altogether break the fourth wall, acknowledge the like established tropes from the 2003 Teen Titans show or the early 2000s Teen Titans show, and then make fun of the Titans.
It's it's definitely completely different than the original Teen Titans show, that which is why I think people don't like it. But you know what though? If they wanted more serious, then we do have the Titans show coming out. That show is straight serious.
The only thing I don't like about the Titans show is they're not the posters for the show, they're not giving what they could have gave, because I want to see Dick Grayson full thought, turn around, toot that thing up like BB Rexa, you know what I'm saying? You need to be showing off them Nightwing yams, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%.
That's what the people want to see. But now we're going to talk about Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans. Like, I'm sorry, we got distracted. Okay, so the premise of the movie is that Raven's evil father, Trigon, from the Teen Titans Go universe, is attempting to take over the multiverse by reviving the Trigon from the original Teen Titans animated series.
And Trigon is like this huge big bad demon. Like he's probably, is he like equivalent to the devil kind of thing?
I don't know, because he is like a demon, but I would say yeah, because he does bring about the end of the world.
So that's what his whole thing is. And
But in Teen Titans Go, they actually had an episode. The episode is called Dog Hand, where they introduced Trigon, and he literally gave Cyborg like a dog for a hand.
Prince that in the movie.
Yeah, it was funny, but he's evil, demonstrably very evil, but he's like dorky dad. So it was like Marceline's dad, Hunts and Abadir from Adventure Time. That's what it was giving.
So yeah, they're trying to bring the goofy Trigon is trying to bring on the original OG Trigon from the
so they can take over the
2006
multiverse.
Show. Yeah.
And
that's what's happening.
To do that, once Raven's chakra gem in the middle of her forehead, it cracks while they're during a fight with Big Bad. The Teen Titans, I said Big Bad just to laugh. The Teen Titans Go villains are all like super goofy, which it fits the overly comedic tone of the show, and I like it. This guy named the Gentleman Ghost, who like takes over people's bodies and like he goes into their minds and like starts rattling around in there. He took over Robin's mind. And it was Weird Al Yankovic, by the way. He took over. Yeah, he also played the surprise guest at the end. I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing because like thinking about this movie really does fill me with joy. So the Gentleman Ghost goes into everybody's mind. First, he goes into Robin's mind, and that's how you find out that Teen Titans Go. You don't have to find out; it's really obvious that Teen Titans Go Robin is a giant egomaniac. And there's this part where it's like all these different versions of him. Like I guess these are his hopes and dreams, but there's him as Batman, and there's a big gold statue of himself with he had like this gigantic butt. It was like woo, woo, woo. It was out there. That was his little bubble buddy, and he like smacked the butt or something. And I was like, oh, this is an obvious Nightwing reference. I was like, oh, Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans. I wonder if we'll see Nightwing. This wasn't my first time watching the movie, by the way. I just mean when I first watched it. But I was like, ha ha ha, that's funny. And then I moved on and I was like, okay. And then he hopped into like Starfire's mind and it was all like rainbows and kitties and it was so cute in there. And then finally gets to Raven's mind and Raven's mind is dark. It's like a void and there was a vault with I guess like Demon Raven in there or whatever, and it's like do not enter, blah blah blah. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna go in there. So Raven's demon powers like kill the gentleman ghost.
Yeah, he goes in there and the gym starts to break open and straight up Demon Raven comes out. Demon Raven comes out and straight up kills the ghost. And she says, they're all like, whoa, what happened there? And then
They're
she
like,
says
you leveled
something.
up, and she's like, you're welcome for re-killing that old man. Like
Yeah,
he
that's what it
just
was.
said that, and I was like, what?
That's so extreme. And the fact that she said this in the movie too, because
And
like I
this
said,
was
this
in
is
like the first 20 minutes, and I was like, what the hell?
it's geared towards kids, you know? And I was like, bro, you can't come out like that strong. You can't do that. But it was funny because it caught me off guard. So
And then so from what we've seen in the OG Teen Titans, Raven is actually even though she presents like an indifferent facade, she's a deeply sensitive character. What we see in episodes like season 1 episode 6 Nevermore, which is titled because her name is Raven. I didn't get that reference as a kid because you know that Edgar Allan Poe thing where that Raven's like Nevermore.
yeah.
But it's like clever, like haha, but then it's like haha. Anyway, so in Nevermore, Beast Boy and Cyborg don't know how to mind their business. Deeply surprising for Cyborg as he is black, and we tend to mind our black-owned business. They're going around, poking around in Raven's room after they hurt her feelings. So I think they called her creepy or something early in the episode, and they see this mirror that she uses for meditation, and so they look into the mirror and get trapped in her mind. Mm-hmm. And so when they go into Raven's mind, they see all these different aspects of Raven that she kind of has to keep under control to fight off her demonic aspects. And we see the same thing again in the next episode, Switched, with the Puppet Master, where Starfire and Raven end up switching bodies. And we find out, like, to keep Raven's powers under control, she meditates and she has her own way of doing things, but that doesn't mean that she's not fully like checked in, like she doesn't want to be their friend. I mean, like she has to be like kind of emotionless to keep everything going.
Right. So it's kind of the similar thing in this movie.
Except this is a younger Raven, so she's basically just suppressing everything.
Yeah. So it kind of like transfers over to where she's just because so she teleports away from that whole scene and then it goes back to where she's so she's in her bed now and she's meditating or sleeping in her bed, something like that. And she's just having a full-on mental breakdown because she's like, I don't know what's happening to me.
Oh my God. You know what? I didn't even notice that she actually looks into a mirror when Trigon talks to her.
I was about to say that. So she gets up to her mirror and sees her demon father Trigon talking to her.
But he pretends to be her at first and he's like, hello, sweetie.
Yeah, it's goofy. It's so goofy.
The funniest part about this is that they got all the same voice actors from like the other Teen Titan show. Like even Trigon, it's still Kevin Michael Richardson, but he's like wearing a sweater vest.
Yeah, I thought that was so nice because I didn't know that this was the original until I was watching the opening credits and I saw like the names coming on through and I was like, these are the same people. Like they got the same people to do Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, which I think is amazing. So she's talking to Trigon in the mirror and then she gets mad because Trigon's basically telling her like, oh, that's your demon side coming out. And she's like, I don't want to hear that. So she fucking turns the mirror around and on the back is like there's so many Easter eggs in this movie, like so many of them. But on the back of the mirror is like Mirror Master's mirrors. It's like a little logo for Mirror Master. And I thought it was hilarious.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, they're all over the movie. Like you don't even have to watch close because they just keep popping up.
And it's in like even on the billboards in the background, like there's so many things to focus on. And you can tell with Teen Titans Go, like you can tell that the people who make it, they have a deep appreciation for the Teen Titans canon. Like they're just making a goofy kid show.
Oh, you can definitely tell, like 100%. These are huge comic book fans. They're just, like you just said, they're just making it fun. I don't particularly like satire like this, so I can't get on board with it necessarily, but I think they do a great job of it. I can't take any credit away from them because they do a great job of what they're trying to do.
And then so finally, like Trigon, like Raven's like Trigon, I'm never giving you my demon powers. Get out of my mirror. And then she uses her powers actually because he tells her like the more you use your powers, the more the gem will crack. And then you'll just become full demon. And she's like, well, then I guess I'll just never use my powers again. But then she uses her powers to throw the mirror.
Right. Like, come on. So what happens at that point? The Teen Titans are in their living room. Robin's acting up. He's playing some video game against himself because only Robin can beat Robin.
And Cyborg grabs him
and starts just messing up the whole game because it's like a virtual reality game that he's playing. And then all of a sudden, a ship comes out of this guy. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Where did the ship come from? Like, I had no idea what was happening at that point. And the ship comes out the sky and just fucking kidnaps them, takes them away.
Wait, no,
Bust
people
into
come down
black
from the ship,
suits.
beat their ass, and then snatch them up and take them away.
Yeah, they just showed up in them suits and just started beating their ass, and then they kidnapped them, and I was like, "What's happening?" But if you look closely, you'll see that the Raven gets Raven because she uses Raven's powers on young Raven.
And then Raven's like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, I was like, "Bro, that's you. Like, you don't know your own powers."
Like, you can't feel it.
Yeah, but so they're in the ship, and I was like, "Okay, what?" Like at this point, it's called Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans, so you know that this is obviously the Titans.
Yeah. I
But
mean, it pretty much is what it is. And then you see this guy, the master of games, which I like, you would have to literally be a kid, which I mean, this movie is for kids. So it makes sense to not understand that this is obviously some kind of ploy, because this master of games is like, I'm looking for the greatest heroes from every universe. So y'all have to fight.
yeah, you have to fight your alternate selves, is what he basically tells them. So anybody should figure out that that's like, oh, this is bad. But the little goofy Titans are like, oh, we're going to win. We are going to win this shit. Like, we're going to fight all these other Titans because we're the best of the best. And it's so stupid, but it's so funny.
No, the stupidest part really was when Raven was like, you guys don't understand, I can't fight. And then Robin says, his dumbass really said, well, maybe not as well as me, but you
Oh
can
my
still
God.
fight. I was like, sir.
Stupid. This is so stupid.
The part that makes it really stupid is that, like, the other Teen Titans are like, remember, like, the tiny, no, they're not the Tiny Titans. I'm gonna say the Go Titans, because there actually are the Tiny Titans. Like, that's a whole different thing. But the Go Titans are like, okay, we're gonna win. They're entranced by the idea of winning, and the other Titans are like, are you sure about this? He said he's gonna destroy the Earth if we don't fight. And I was like, okay, so we have different motivations.
Yeah, you get a feel that the 2006 Titans, the bigger ones, are
3.
definitely 2003. Sorry, 2006 is when it was canceled, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry. 2003 Titans are definitely a little bit more serious than the younger ones, but the younger ones don't care. They're just in it to win this fight, and it's so funny. And then they even start talking about like, bro, if there's other universes, then there's definitely like a starfire fish and like all
Oh,
kinds
that
of.
was the Protein Titans, where they're all animals. They're a side bunny. I think Beast Boy was a turtle. No, Beast Boy was a regular human boy.
Yeah, and then Beast Boy's like, is there a universe with us as mermaids? And like they name all this goofy
They
stuff,
were
and
like
it's so funny.
knights, steampunk with the hats and the top hats and glasses. One were animals. And then the Master of Games is like, no, those don't exist. And
It's
that's when
so funny.
Cyborg, like, he pulls out a whiteboard from wherever, and he's like, there's a side bunny and do.
Yeah.
And before they even, this is before they even announce, we kind of went a little out of order with this. This is before they even announced that those are the OG Titans, because he's like, can you imagine a world where your great heroes beloved by all? And Beast Boy is like, straight up 0% chance of that happening. And he's like, oh, it already has, and you've already met. And
That's when they take off their black suit costumes and they're like, "Oh my God, that's the OG Titans. Those are the serious Titans," is what they called them.
And then what's funny is, I don't know if you heard it, but there's somebody in the crowd who yells out, "You ruined my childhood," to the Teen Titans Go Titans.
Oh, I didn't hear that. That's
You
funny
ruined
though,
my
because
childhood. It was so funny. I was like, because I had never heard it until this time.
no, that's funny though, because that's what all these people are saying about Teen Titans Go. So that's hilarious. See, that's another thing. The people of the show, there's so many like Easter eggs and stuff in there.
And
It's
they're
so good.
they're hyper aware, and they break the fourth wall all the time. And I was like, hee hee.
Yeah, it was good. I have to say, that's
It
really
was.
good. They get into the ring now and they're like fighting.
They all have to fight.
Yeah.
It's like battle royale style, but instead of switching it up, which is what Young Justice did in their the New Year's Eve episode at the end of season 1, right? Where they were all like, okay, you fight Superman, you fight Batman, something that's smart. They were all fighting themselves.
They even do that in the original Teen Titans, though, don't they? Because they're fighting like Jinx and something, and it's like their powers just weren't winning, so they like switched up who they were fighting.
Yeah.
Like
So
they
I
did it
don't
in the original
understand why they
ones.
did that. And then, like, Robin is trying to, like, Robin, Cyborg, and Beast Boy, they were the only serious people in this fight, because the Ravens didn't want to fight each other, and the Starfires ended up having a thumb war. Raven, Raven and Raven, they were on a whole different wave, even, because they didn't even attempt to actually fight. Cyborg, Beast Boy, and Robin, they're like, hey, don't you realize that something crazy is going on, y'all? Like they were trying to get it through their hands. They were like, no. But before they even really got started, Robin and Robin, they have the most conflict, and I feel like that's indicative of like the two biggest, like I don't want to say like relationships in this movie were the two biggest like conflict slash relationships were between the two Ravens and the two Robins, because I feel like
Mhm.
Robin, OG Robin, and like with his I don't want to say inferiority complex, but he kind of has one. Like I feel like when you're mirrored against a version of yourself that's exponentially more, I feel like that's where that clash really came from. And he called him, I wrote this down, Toy Robin, Shorter Robin, and Bobblehead Robin. And he also called them the baby versions of them. He was like, don't rough these baby versions of ourselves up too much. And then Robin threw a batarang at his head and he said, okay, well, maybe rough him up.
Yeah, Big Robin was just not having any of Little Robin.
But
No.
but Starfire, like the one of the biggest things about Teen Titans Go, like in the difference from Teen Titans, is that they be on Robin's ass. Like they have no respect for Robin as their leader, like at all, like remotely. And Starfire thinks he's like goofy, but she was like she beat the other Starfire in the Thumb War and was like, oh, the Robin is such the handsome or whatever. And she's like, hee.
Yeah,
And
she's totally like smitten over the giant Robin. Not giant Robin,
she
Big
said he's
Robin.
so tall and his hands are so big. And like she literally has a crush on every other Robin that they show. And Cyborg really, he was doing his damn thing in this movie because he was like booyah and knocked the Teen Titans Go Cyborg out of the ring. And he said, that's my line. It was mine first.
Mm-hmm.
Raven, and then Raven is the only one who really notices what the linchpin of this plan is, because Teen Titans Go Raven tries to forfeit and it's like and they're like, oh no, she has to fight. She's like, she forfeited, so why can't she leave? You didn't have a problem with anybody else getting out of the ring until she wanted to go. Like, because I was like, Miss Raven advocates for herself. Like that's how you can tell there's a difference in maturity level. I don't want I don't mean that in a derisive way either, but like between the two Ravens and like it's like these are older teenagers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. So the older one definitely is like she's advocating for the young one who just doesn't want to fight, and young one is just trying to leave. She doesn't want any part of this. Old Raven is like, let her go. Like, who cares? Because she's
But
definitely more mature than the younger one.
and even the other Titans are, because there's this point where Teen Titans Go Robin said, have fun being losers, losers. And Beast Boy says, really, dude? Like OG Beast Boy is like, really, dude? And I was like, not Beast Boy having to be the voice of reason.
So what happens is obviously Little Raven is forced to fight, and she uses her demonic powers because she has to, and then it basically brings Trigon back to life. But they
But not
stopped
all
it
the
in
way.
time. Yeah, because they stopped her from using her powers in time.
Well,
And
Raven does, like, because this is a Raven who is at peace with herself and she's able to guide the smaller Raven, because this is post like the early 2000 series. So she's like, she shuts the whole thing down before they can steal all of her powers, and Trigon comes back to life with one leg.
yeah, because they stopped it in time. She didn't get all of her powers, so he's fully complete except his leg. He
And
still
he's
needs that little bit of power.
and he spends like the rest of his time in the movie hopping around, and like it's not funny to have one leg, but it's funny that he was so like mad about it. And like every time that they show him, like they didn't even need to do this, but every time they show him standing up, like later on in the movie, he's like braced up against the building leaning over.
Yeah, yeah. See, it's little touches like that. Like it's amazing.
So they're like, and then they just grab both Ravens and they're like, well, we're not done. So they like use this item that the master of games that was using to which is obviously the master of games was Trigon,
Little
tiny
Trigon.
Trigon. And he was like, you fell for the oldest trick in the book, a rigged sporting event. And I was like, yeah, period, because I know what a rigged sporting event looks like.
Right. So little Trigon uses this item, which is like a purple sphere with like motion
Zip
moving in it.
zops in it.
I don't know how you would describe that, but
Zip
it's just a purple
zops.
sphere. Zip zops. So
He called it a whirligog.
it's called a Warlagog. He uses the Warlagog to transport Big Trigon, Little Trigon, and both Ravens out of there. And basically, is what happened is Big Trigon is just holding both Ravens hostage until he gets the last of their power. And how they get out of there, Christian? How do they get out of there?
By being annoying. They start chirping him. They're like, well, what if you get thirsty or you need to pick your nose? And he was like, I am Trigon, master of evil, blah, 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 whoop de whoop and da da da. I don't get parched. And then Raven is like,
Like, you sure you don't get parched? Are you sure?
And then he's like, tiny Trigon. And he like, or he says, he calls him like other Trigon or something. And he's like, we really got to figure out something to call ourselves that's not, our name. It's getting confusing. And he's like, fetch me a soda. And he does like a Teen Titans Go size soda. And he's like, bigger. And he's like, don't command me. He was like, bigger. So he gets a bigger soda. And he's like, no, put it up to my lips. And they have this like 2-minute long, like back and forth of him trying. He's like, no, you're moving your mouth where where the soda used to be. And they're like arguing. And finally Trigon gets pissed off, lets both Ravens go, and like grabs the soda. And he was like, damn, was it that hard? Like, and he like takes first they argue because he was like, well, if you're thirsty, shouldn't you want some water? And he was like, give me a soda. And then he gets it and he finally drinks it. He said, soda.
And he lets both of them go. And that's how they escaped. Just by being annoying and goofy. And Little Trigon doesn't know how to fucking work a soda cup.
No, it was Big Trigon was moving his mouth. See, I was on Little Trigon's side because, like, if you would stop, don't help me.
Well, yeah, but Big Trigon is clearly in charge, right? Like, he's clearly in charge of the whole situation. So you're like, oh my god, Big Trigon. Like, he's so evil. Like, he's going to do so many things.
And then the Ravens walk out and you find out. Yeah, because I don't understand why they both walked out, because it was only the smaller Raven who couldn't use her powers. So, like, you really could have picked me up in your arms and flew me.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, you could have used my powers to carry me, like used your powers to carry me.
You could have just picked me up in your arms and flew me. I weigh the same amount as a small child. But moving on.
I digress. They both walked out.
Like, it's a cartoon. They just walk. They walk out of this lair. And Raven is like, oh, good, we're in my world. Like,
Big Raven.
Yeah, Big Raven is like, oh, good, we're in my world. And, like, I never noticed how dark the O3 series was. Like, I mean, dark in terms of, like, just the colors. Because you go from Teen Titans Go to that. And I was like, oh, this is not as saturated. Like, it was just funny because they were obviously, like, being funny about it. And I was like, I had to, like, open up an episode of the old show to, like, I was like, okay, am I, like, playing? Like, were they just being funny? And I was like, they were being funny and they were being serious. And then they start talking. Raven is like, listen, I've already been through this. Like, I understand. Like, Raven is like, well, maybe I should let them take my demon. Teen Titans Go, Raven. It's like, maybe I should let them take my demon powers away. And Raven's like, no, they're a part of who you are. And I was like, I was really proud of her for coming to a place where she can not only accept herself, but she's able to guide another version of herself towards self-acceptance. They were Raven's like, oh, walking won't be so bad. And she shows her feet and they're like disgusting.
And they only walked like 2 blocks, by the way. Like, they didn't walk far at all.
And she's like picking up her feet and like is like they're made of lead. And she's like, I've never walked this far ever. And I was like, respect, queen, because I wouldn't either. And you see the
powers and I could fly. You think I'm going to be walking anywhere?
Walking is ghetto after that. Right. Won't do it. And Tiny Trigon is going around the city like scaring people. Have you seen 2 teenage girls, one this tall and one this tall? And he pulls out of his wallet, like he like opens his wallet and there's like a fold out of like 1 million pictures of Raven doing different stuff.
And then one as Demon Raven, who, by the way, is like 4 stories tall and just completely black.
Well, she's like black with like a tint of purple, which I was like, okay, mood. Sometimes it's like that. And then they cut to the Titans Tower in the Teen Titans Go universe. And they're being like the 2 Starfires are excited to see each other, and they're like you're feeding Silky too much garbage, and like he vomits for a crazy long amount of time. It's disgusting. And the Teen Titans Go Titans teach the other Titans how to relax. They sing a little song called Whirligog, which is just to fill time. And
Which
they
actually was kind of funny too. I'm
but
not.
the funniest part was the fact they said, "Oh, that was just to fill time."
Yeah, they broke the fourth wall completely. They were like, "Oh, we just needed more time," so we sang this song. It's like a 3-minute long song where they just say the word "Warlagog"
Whirligog.
in different ways. Yeah,
You're
it's
like,
the most ridiculous thing.
whoa. And while they're doing this, like early odds Robin is brooding on the roof. He's like, everyone's counting on me. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. And then like Teen Titans Go Robin is like, hey, you making a plan? And he's like, he's like, you think you're so great because people respect you and you're a great leader and da-da-da. He's like, you're literally just listing reasons why I'm so great.
Yeah, it was so funny.
I don't know. I was like, and the fact that Raven had like not like 2 minutes before said that I've already done a lot of facing my own demons and like she said it I think maybe during the fight scene and she's like this is kind of like a trip for me, but the fact that like, Robin was essentially doing the same thing and he was not reacting as well to it.
Hmm.
I feel like the satirical like this exaggerated version of Robin, like he was like, and I took that personally because he's like, am I annoying? Am I like an egomaniac? He was like, I feel like being confronted with the worst parts of yourself blown up to 20, it was like it was not ideal for him because it took a little bit like during the Whirligog song where the Titans go taught them how to relax. They were like, okay, Starfire, Beast Boy, Cyborg, they were all chill. Robins, they were acting up. They had to sing a whole song about cooperation, and it was a rap. Um, that's when they all showed up dressed like it was the '90s, and they were talking about why each version of them was so like great. Like they were like, you do this, we do this, blah blah blah. We got to cooperate.
So, what happens after that?
They were all waiting on Robin, like
Oh, to
not
come up
Teen
with a
Titans Go
plan.
Robin, yeah, to come up with the plan, and that's why he was on the roof, and they were waiting on him to come up with the plan, and that's why he was up there brooding, and he didn't even come up with the plan. He was like, the only thing that they said was when he came back down, he was like, the Whirligog came from our world. The readings on it match our world and not theirs. Like, and Cyborg was like, yeah, he was like, yep, I did a reading. It's definitely from their world. So there has to be a counterpart in our world. And the Teen Titans Go, they do something every year that I had never heard of, which I have to go watch immediately.
Yeah.
They said, oh my God, it's got to be him. How else would he get to every house in the world in one night? How does he know what you're doing?
He knows if you're sleeping. He
Sleeping
knows
or
if
if
you're
you're
awake.
awake. I was like, what the hell? Because I was like, they can only really be talking about one person. I was like, they're not. I refuse. They're not.
Yeah, when they
So
said he knows if you're sleeping or if you know when you're awake, I was like, no. Because we know that that's Santa. But I was like, no.
hell no. Nah. And then you see these four dumb asses at the North Pole. They're using, what are those stripy things? The candy
Candy
that I
cane?
don't like. Yeah, nasty. So they're using candy canes as like how people use those little snorkels and they're tunneling through the snow and they're like Santa Claus. And they were like, the OG Titans are like, I thought they were joking.
Yeah, they went to the North Pole to go see Santa. I thought it was a joke too.
Wait, the funniest part was that they like, this is not a short sequence. They go through they were like, you really fight Santa? And they were like, oh yeah, every year. And they're like, sometimes we team up, but always there is the betrayal. And I was like, child, what?
It was ridiculous.
Like, I've seen
Ridiculous.
this movie a couple times, and I promise you, even though it was like a big part of the plot that Santa was there, I mentally had checked out because I was sitting there watching it, and I was last night, and I was like, no.
So they get to Santa and he's like, "Oh yeah, we have a Warlagog, but you can't have it. You got to fight my wife to get this." And then it's like changes over to like a scene changes, a door on the other side of the wall, and it opens up, and here comes Mrs. Claus.
Wait, first it all opens like 47 doors.
Yeah, it has like it goes like a metal door goes up, and then like it goes apart. Like it opens a million doors just to come out Mrs. Claus with like a metal arm, and like shit's something else, right? I don't know.
Armor on.
It was ridiculous. She came out battle ready, basically. battle ready.
She had that battle ready armor.
Yeah, I was like, what is happening in this? And then she fucking pulls out the Warlagog out of her metal arm and is like, you gotta fight me for this. And then they're like, Mrs. Claus. And then it goes, that's my mother's name. Call me Megan. I was like,
Megan.
what? It was ridiculous.
And then they're like full on fighting. Like they like switch to pew 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 pew. And I was like, no, because I'm sitting there in disbelief. And like, it's not just that they're fighting, it's like the elves have machine guns made out of cookies and candy canes, and they're like shooting.
This all happened in like a solid maybe 2 minutes. Like it happened so quick once they get to Santa. And then they're in the middle of Santa's workshop having a full-on war with elves and like reindeer, Santa, Mrs. Claus, everything. It was like
Megan.
So fast. Oh, Megan. Sorry, Megan. Ridiculous. And then they're fighting, and then who says that? I think it was Big Robin, Serious Robin is like, use attack pattern alpha, whatever.
Yeah.
This thing and take down everybody in like 4 seconds flat.
With like, they knock over some gears and they get the Whirligog and they all like pile out into the snow. And then the two cyborgs connect together. And little cyborg, I really wish that I had written down what he said, but he said some foolishness. He was like, cyborg pattern 17, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, what does that mean? He was like, open up a portal. And he's like, you have to agree on codes ahead of time. Did you think we were just yelling out random stuff? And he was like, I did think that.
It was so funny. And they turned into a ship together with the Warlagog that opens portals.
Yeah. So like everybody is riding inside of Cyborg, but the two clauses follow them in a sleigh through the like wormhole generator. Mm-hmm. So they're going in a different world.
Because they open a portal, a wormhole, and it's like this long tunnel full of like
other
portals on the sides. And like each portal is a different universe, obviously. And then Mrs. Claus comes flying through. Mr. Santa Claus and Megan come flying through on their little sleigh, led by reindeers who are shooting fucking lasers from their antenna.
And then, like, big cyborg puts Robin in the gun. Like, they have a gun on their two cyborg ships. Like, you have to see the cyborg ship for yourself to understand how crazy this was to be watching. And little Robin is like, he's like, I want to fire the big gun. Like, he's so petty. And I was like, shut up. So they go into other universes, right? And the first one is like the more serious, like it's actual Titans, like, and they were like, it was Nightwing and the Titans, like they're not teens clearly. And I don't think they turned Nightwing around so we could see those yams, but they should have, because they know what the fans want to see. And then Cyborg starts making fun of them. Teen Titans Go Cyborg. He's like, man, I thought you were the serious versions of us, but they're the serious versions of us. Like, they make you look stupid.
Because it's full on. They're even taller. They're even more mature. The world is even darker. Like, it's actually, they're actual Titans. If you watch like any of the Titan DC movies, animated movies, it's the real Titans. And
then they go into the Tiny Titans world, which is like, they're these comic books that I don't know if they're like for kids or whatever, but the premise is like they're in like kindergarten or something. I don't know how to explain it without you seeing it, but like they do the art style of the comic book, and then they go into a steampunk world, and he was like, I knew it. And then they go into a world where they're mermaids. Like they went to the comics version of them where Starfire is beautiful with her big curly hair, and like I think there was another Nightwing or whatever, but one of them was like, what is that? And they don't talk. It's just a comic book bubble.
Like speech bubbles come out. Like a comic book speech bubbles come out. That's how they talk. And it's very 2D also because they're comic books.
And it was so funny. And there's also a version of them where they were just flying around in their little jet, and it was like old school animation. And I was like, it's all so funny. And even when they go to the Tiny Titans, like the Titans don't have a tower, they have a treehouse. Santa ran through their tree.
Yeah, because whole time Santa's flying, because they're flying through universes trying to outrun Santa Claus. Santa Claus is behind them. Yes, and Megan's there.
Megan is the shooter, quiet as it's kept.
Yeah. And then finally, like, they're back in this main wormhole area with like the hallway of wormholes And
the two cyborgs maneuver around them and they're like, you know what we have that the sled doesn't have? And then they're like, brakes. So they whip around and do a little switcheroo and they stop and they let the other, like Santa and Megan, speed past them into another wormhole and they end up at a freaking mall in December.
so kids are everywhere because they land by Santa's Playhouse and the
But at least
mall.
they're in the right universe.
Yeah, it's their home, but still. And then kids start just jumping them basically because they see Santa Claus in the middle of the mall. And that's how they got rid of Santa Claus. After going through numerous universes trying to outrun them, that's how they got rid of Santa Claus and Megan. Not
And
even
it's
Mrs. Claus. Isn't that the most? That's so dumb.
no, what was really dumb about it is that she said, like, Santa establishes that this is his wife, right? She
Yeah,
says Mrs. Claus was my mother's name. Call me Megan. I feel
what
like
is
they
it?
didn't do a lot of thought. They didn't put a lot of thought into that
Yeah, I'm getting your implication.
because I was like, huh? Pardonnez-moi?
Actually, there's so many different implications there. Does that mean that he was fucking the mama and the daughter?
Not the graduate. I just went straight up incest. I'm sorry for saying that, everyone. I'm sorry for putting that thought into your mind, but that was the like, and then like I was like, okay, maybe that was a sister because they don't really say like, I was like, maybe they didn't say, but then I had to like watch it again this morning because I fell asleep last night while I was watching it, and I was like, oh, they definitely said. But there's a part where later Tiny Trigon says, he's like, I kind of thought Santa's wife had it handled. Because obviously after they defeat Santa and Megan, they go into what is it called, Go City from the early odds Teen Titans, and they're like, okay, we're here to save the day, we're all here. But actually, while they're in the wormhole, Big Robin is like, actually, like they're like, oh, we need a plan, and then he's like, what? Actually, I do have a plan. We got to make some stops first. I was like, I think I understand where this is going, King, but I'm just gonna let it run. Then like, okay, we gotta go save Raven. They pop up out the wormhole portal. They're like, pew, we're here.
So now they're in 2003 world with the grown up Titans. Where Trigon and Raven are.
Where Trigon and Raven are. So Trigon is there on his one leg, and they end up forcing Raven to crack her gem all the way. And Trigon, gets her powers. He puts a second foot down on the ground for the first time in this
He put his foot down.
period. And then he starts talking crazy to small Trigon.
He's
He's
like,
like,
I'm
you are annoying.
superior. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Oh my god, this is the part that got me. Because they started, okay.
You're like, no, I gotta refocus.
Big Trigon's up here acting crazy. He's like, I got both my legs. I'm ready to take over the world, blah, blah, blah. Little Raven's down on the ground, basically happy because her demon side's out, so she has nothing to worry about ever again. Big Raven's like, no, you need your powers back. And she's like, what? So Big Trigon's up here acting a fool about everything. He's like, I can do it now. I can take over the world. Little Trigon, do this for me. And then
he starts clowning on him. He was like, you're annoying. He was like, and then when the other Titans pop out, he was like, are you so stupid that you didn't get the Whirligog from your world so that they weren't able to follow us? And he was like, I kind of thought Santa's wife had that handled, which I was like, mood, actually, because I would just assume Megan had that handled too, because she was crazy.
So Lil Trigon gets mad that he calls him
He
stupid.
said, you are hurting my feelings.
This whole insult thing lasted a solid like 45 seconds. He's been insulting this man for 45 seconds. And then out of nowhere, I'm telling you, Christian, little Trigon just grabs him and eats giant Trigon.
No, first he wraps his tongue around him and then eats him.
Yeah, little Trigon is like barely up to my knee, probably. And big Trigon is like, I don't know,
A building
200
tall.
feet tall. Yes. I was like, it happened in like, if you blinked, you missed it. I was like, what the fuck?
Like, no, the first time I watched it, I'm glad I watched it on streaming because it was direct to video. And I had to like, I was like, what just happened? Because you were texting me, I remember, because I looked down at my phone and I was like, well, where the hell did he go?
tell you, if you blink, it happened so quick. I stopped
And then
to
he
stare.
starts he starts ranting. He's like, I tried to take over the multiverse with my daughter, take over the world with my daughter. And then he's like, you see him pop out another set of arms. He was like, I tried to take over the entire multiverse with myself. And he said, why doesn't anybody respect me? He's losing his mind. He's losing his absolute shit. And I was like, what? So we're sitting there in just mystified because, again, he ate him.
Complete disbelief of what just happened, first of all. Complete disbelief.
And then he starts growing.
Oh my god.
I'm going to name off these body parts because I wrote them down when I was watching it this morning.
Dude, it was so funny.
He grew 4 additional eyes, which means he has 8 eyes, 4 arms, 4 legs, and 2 butts.
2 butts.
We're going to come back to that later.
Yeah.
Because I have something to say about it. And then he says, I am Hexagon. And I was like, why would he be Hexagon if there's only 2 of them? But I forgot that his name was already Trigon. And he was like, I'm 2 Trigons. And he's like, they were like, Hexagon like the shape. And he was like, no, I'm Hexagon like there's 2 Trigons. And I was like, okay.
That was really clever because it took me a minute too. I was like, what does he have 6 of? And then I realized twice is 6, you know? It was so clever.
Because I was looking, I was like, did he grow another 3 arms? Or like I was really looking for it too. And I was like, Hexagon, he had to say 2 Trigons before I was like, oh. But then with the 2 butts, it was like Beast Boy was like, you got 2 butts. And then he was like, yeah, I have 2 butts because I have 2 of everything. And then Starfire says, did you intentionally give yourself 2 butts? And he was like, well, no. It was a side effect of this. It's not like the 2 butts was a selling point. And then Beast Boy, Beast Boy is like, it feels like you're hung up on the 2 butts, but whatever. Hexagon starts beating their ass, giving them that work.
Right.
Really.
2 Trigons.
Yeah, and he actually really is a demon. Like, he was like, I'm finna squash this shit. And I was like, okay, Hexagon, okay, whatever. And then he said, then Robin is like, oh, I'm sorry. You seem to be thinking we're alone. And I was like, word. So he pulls out the Whirligog and he's like, Titans, go. And then millions of portals open and you see Titans from like a bunch of different universes.
And yeah, like you said earlier, it was very reminiscent of the Avengers movie, how portals just open up all on that one side behind them all. It was exactly like that.
It was literally the exact same thing, except they were like Whirligog colored. And it was like, there was this demented cartoon version of them, like those old creepy cartoons where people like get shot and die. The tiny Titans, like the comics Titans, like Nightwing and the Titans,
the Mermaid Titans,
the Protein Titans, which were the animal ones.
The Titans, the big grown ones.
Yeah.
The serious Titans.
Yeah, the serious.
They had what was it? Like a punk version of them.
Yeah, the punk version, the steampunk version. They had a version of them where I think it was like the 60s where they were like a band or something.
And they had the cartoon or comic book one again where they talked with speech bubbles.
Yeah. And
all kinds of crazy Titans just everywhere.
And he was like, the Teen Titans of Infinite Earths. I was like, okay. And then they all start giving Trigon that work in different ways. Like they're all so excited. Like the Robins are like, Teen Titans, go! And they all they're like, aim for the eyes, like da 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 da. And the cyborgs, they all turn into tanks. The Ravens, they're all launching an offensive on their own. And what really gets me is that Beast Boy is like, yo, let's turn into a piranha. And then that's go Beast Boy. And then early odds Beast Boy was like, yo, I always want to turn into a piranha, but there's no use when it's just one. And he's like, don't I know it?
He starts tearing up, and all of them, every single Beast Boy turns into like an army of piranhas. And
they're all like chomping on Trigon's chest. But the thing that was really weird was that one of them grabbed onto his nipple.
Yeah, it bit his nipple and he goes, my udder.
And then the thing that I really liked was that one of the Starfires yells out, Tamaranian battle formation Gleebrex. And they're all like, Rexar? and they all like start pew 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 pew, and it reminded me of OG Teen Titans where Starfire is like, I don't remember what joke she's like, oh, I look like a Rorfian Zopgar, and then they all look at her like, girl, what the hell? And she's like, on my planet, this is hilarious.
Oh,
And it
I
makes
know.
me think like Starfire must be so lonely on the Titans, because I think she's hilarious. Like on Tamaran, she seems to be very well liked. It's like people, they flock to her. I think Starfire is probably hilarious and they don't understand anything she's saying.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
First of all, she's hilarious anyway. That girl be having me tight. Like she tells Raven later, she's like, finish him. And I was like, girl.
Yeah.
So Chargon is like, finally, after all this, he's like, enough. And he like picks them all up and like slams them down. And they all look broken and like just miserable. Because he's like, a demon.
He's 2 demons now. So, and he's already like the strongest demon there is. So 2 of them.
2 demon with 2 butts.
Demon with 2 butts, 4 arms. Like, it happens.
And 4 legs. Wait. Yeah. See, the thing that was kind of weird about it to me is when they said that he had 2 butts, we didn't mention that he like turned into like a centaur type thing. And the 2 butts were like just like...
Yeah, they were just 2 butts on the end of a centaur body.
I was like, what? I was like, and then Trigon already has these horns and they like turn into mega antlers. And then that kind of made me worried that I was like, is this like for furries? But then I moved on. And Raven is like, she's like, okay, she's like, how you have to get your demon powers back, like from Hexagon. And she like, this is Big Raven. She's like, if you do that, my Trigon should disappear and yours, he'll just be... she said your Trigon will be your Trigon. Like, it was so rude. I was like, give this man some respect. That's how we ended up with Hexagon in the first place. Right. So Raven is like, but maybe I'm better off without my demon powers, like, because she was happy, like she smiled and she was flirting with Beast Boy, like she's like, I didn't know how colorful the world is. Meanwhile, there's like a whole battle, everybody's getting their ass beat behind her.
And she's walking.
And oh God, that seems miserable. And Raven is like, well, okay, how do I do this? And what does Big Raven say to her?
Big Raven says, well, little Trigon ate Big Trigon, so you have to eat the rest of us. And she's like, whoa, why do I?
No, she just says, you have to eat me. This is why do you
have to eat me?
And she said, ugh.
She said, why do I gotta eat you though? And the reasoning for this, Christian, was the most ridiculous thing. Big Raven says, my mouth doesn't animate that big.
And she's like, and then Beast Boy is like, yo, if you ate all the other ravens, you would probably turn into a mega raven, yo. And then so she eats her and it's like, oh, and then it's like she gets a +1, like a power up in a video game, and then she fucking turns into Pac-Man. She like starts and keep in mind, the ravens are the only thing holding Hexagon back from them. So it's like she eats all of them, and then she just looks bulbous, like she's like stretched out and she was like, they were like, what did that do? Did it help? And she's like, I don't know, but I'm surprisingly tasty. And then all of a sudden she's like, doop, doop, blah. And then she like grows like up to the size of Trigon, and she's like pitch black with the purple tint on her with the obviously like 4, I think she had more than 4 eyes because she usually has 4 eyes when she turns into Demon Raven, so I think she had like 6 or maybe 8. And then she said, we are the unkindness. And I don't know if you know this, but a flock of ravens is called an unkindness or a conspiracy.
Yeah, which was so clever.
Like, they really know what they're doing. This is intentionally funny. And so she starts giving him that word, pop, 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 pop. And like they had come up with the plan, like they just got to crack the gem or whatever. So she's giving Trigon that word. And then like the Titans, the 03 Titans and the Teen Titans Go, they reorganize. They're like, okay, we have to crack the gem. We're like, no, they're like, we'll get the Whirligog. So they grab the Whirligog, and then dumbass Titans Go Robin ate it.
Oh yeah, because he says, well, everyone else was eating things.
His cyborg said, they're demons. We don't work like that.
Stupid.
Oh, so they beat Hexagon, obviously, like they crack the gem, like all the ravens disperse, What I thought was really cool was at the end of this whole sequence, like Raven is back in her mind and she's looking, and like it's like in the corner of her eye there's her demonic aspect, and she's like, oh, you're here again. And then she's like Demon Raven kind of shrinks away from her, and she's like, I promise I won't lock you away again. Like wherever we're going forward, we're gonna go together. And then there she is by herself. Like she at first it kind of looks like the unkindness is going to turn on them before they all disperse, and then she turns back into her tiny Teen Titans Go self, and she's like, what are you guys looking at?
Like it shows that she's working alongside her demon side, so she's like character development. It's good character development,
period. And then all the Titans of Infinite Earths, they start going back. Obviously the O3 Titans are like, get out of our universe, ha 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 ha, XOXO, love you guys. Mwah. And then they all start having these like little heart-to-heart moments where Raven, like, Raven's acknowledging herself. Starfire is like, of course, sweet to herself, and she's like, goodbye my sister from another world. I was like, oh, how sweet. And Cyborg, I don't remember what Cyborg says. Oh, he's like, I also have a waffle maker. We just didn't work that in. I just wanted you to know.
Little Cyborg says that to Big Cyborg. He's like, I just need you to know that I have a waffle maker. And it's ridiculous.
It's just, he says it like, when people put their two fingers together and they do like that awkward pose or whatever, that's what he said it. Like, that's the exact vibe from him saying that. Like, ooh, I have a waffle maker, you just don't know. I'm not like other cyborgs.
He was trying to impress Big Cyborg.
Yeah, and it was so cute. And then Beast Boy, like, they're turning into different animals, giving each other some dap, and they're like, now be.
Yeah, all the high fives, because it was like, I know that there was a goat at one point or a hoof.
There was a gorilla, I think, too.
Yeah, it was great.
And then before Raven, like, Robin says this thing that actually was a meme. And I don't think a lot of people knew that it was from Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans, but it was like a trending sound on TikTok where he says, when I first met you, I thought you were weird and annoying. And you are. And then he's like, but you're a great superhero, or like someday you'll be a great superhero, in your own way. And then he said, if you keep training and you grow to a normal height. And he said a bunch of like insulting, like it was like the most backhanded compliment ever.
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm done with this handshake. And then you shoot over to like, I think it's like Starfire, and then like Raven. And Raven's like, she's like, if you're ever in trouble. And then she says, I know who to call. That was Teen Titans Go, Raven. It was so cute because at the beginning they did do a little bit of a riff on the OG, like the Hi Puffy Yumi Teen Titans song. I don't know the name of it. I think it's called Teen Titans Go, but the song is straight heat, and it's actually considered to be one of the best animated show themes of all time. We miss you, Puffy Yumi, like wherever you guys are. I hope you're happy. But I thought it was a great callback. She's like, if you ever are in trouble or if you ever need help, I know who to call. It was so cute.
Yeah, because that was the original song.
And they were like, okay, wait, hey, shouldn't we take the Whirligog back since it's from our world? And they were like, no. And they were like, but what if no? But no.
Yeah, those big Titans were not letting him have it. They were like, you're not, can't be trusted with this much power. Basically. Fair. Look what they did. But I know. And then the little Titans go back to their world. And they're like, "Ooh, let's not do any more crossover events ever again." That shit was weird.
No, wait, they said the best thing about crossover events is that they only come once a year.
And then fucking Darkseid shows up. Obviously a different animation style, so it's from a different universe.
Oh, and it was Weird Al.
It was Weird Al again?
Yeah.
Wow, good for him.
He's like, hello, I'm Darkseid.
He shows up, he's like, I'm here to destroy all. And it's clearly a different universe, Darkseid. And they're just like, Little Go is not doing it. They are not doing it.
And they like sit in their tower and they're like, what's he doing now? And Cyborg like telescopes his head. No, periscope, right? That's the thing from the submarine that goes up and down.
Yeah.
He like periscopes his head and he's like, oh, now the little jerks are following the big jerks, and they start narrating what they think he's gonna do, and they're like, typical. And they're all like reading magazines, like not giving a damn about what's
And you
And
hear
then
like a woman outside, she screams like, "Where are the Titans to help us? Not the little ones, the serious ones."
and Starfire rolls her eyes and she's like, wait, no, actually, before we even talk about that, when they all start going back to their other universes, the serious Titans start to go back to their world, and Teen Titans Go, Robin is like wearing Nightwing's outfit over his clothes, and he's like, okay guys, now me and my Titans will go back to our world. And the Titans are looking down at him like, boy, if you don't get the hell. And then then Teen Titans Go, Starfire, like I mentioned, they be on Robin's ass, and she's her and then other Starfire, they were like in love with Nightwing upon seeing him, which, you know, the yams, I understand. And she's like, you are not the Nightwing, Robin. He is much more of the handsome than you. And then
Yeah.
friggin' Dick Grayson just walks up like behind him and snatches his clothes off. Like, and he's holding like a garbage pail lid in front of his business, like walks sideways towards the portal and looks at him like, boy, and then walks away. And now we're at the end.
That's it. That's how the movie ends. Not with
We're
that, but with
with
Darkseid.
yeah, with Darkseid, and they're really sitting on the couch not giving a damn. And then they're like, now they're building a tower. Now the tower is shooting a laser into space, and I promise you, they don't take their eyes off these magazines. Like, they're really just sitting there like, I don't care.
And then one of Darkseid's minions hits the window, the opposite window that Cyborg is looking out, and then it just fades to black. That's it.
Like, that's it.
It was ridiculous. The movie was pretty funny though, overall. Definitely geared towards children, but still has adult humor in it as well.
So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the movie. I don't know if you came into this review looking for something profound, but you didn't find it. We just thought it was funny.
So I already know, but what would you rate this movie?
27 out of 5.
27 out of 5.
Yes, yeah. It's hilarious.
Would recommend it to everybody.
Absolutely. I do recommend it to everybody. I tell everybody they should be watching Teen Titans Go and DC Superhero Girls.
Okay, personally, it's just because it's not my cup of tea. I don't usually get on board with things this satirical, but I would say like out of 5, it would definitely be like a 3.5 probably. It was really good. It just wasn't exactly my cup of tea, you know? I can't say there were so many good aspects of the movie. They had their Easter eggs everywhere. It told a really good story. It was like engaging, and they had very good comedic aspects too. So it was a good movie. It just wasn't something that I personally would watch.
On your own?
On my own. Yeah, I watched it obviously. Yeah, it was a good movie. I have to say overall, Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans was a good movie.
And that's all for this week's episode of True Believers. We want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you for your feedback and for all your continued support. We'll see you next Wednesday, the 18th of August, to give you guys an update on what we've been reading in Future State. And we're available on all major streaming platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. If you like the show, please leave us a review and continue sharing with your friends. It really helps us a lot, and we really appreciate it. And as always, if you want to leave a suggestion on what we read or watch, you can DM us on Instagram at True Believers Pod and on Twitter at True Believers P, or even email us at 1 truebelieverspod@gmail.com.
Yep. Thank you guys so much again. Please hit us up. Bye.
Bye.